So I want to talk a little bit about the break command. I haven't taught the break command, and I don't teach the break command because it is poor programming practice in most instances, the vast majority of instances. And I don't think there's any instance in this class where you would ever want to use the break command. If we look at, for those of you who haven't seen the break command, if we look at this program over here, you can see it's just a simple loop, and we run it. We will keep running in the loop until we hit no, and then we follow the loop. Instead of setting the counter here, what you could do is set a break. And then when we run through, what happens is it follows through the loop until we hit that, and then it breaks out of the loop. And so the break command is a way of suspending whatever action you're doing if you're inside a loop and falling out of a loop. The problem is it sets it up, it makes it much harder to debug your code later, and you also don't know why you fell out of the loop. You should never use the break command. You should always just set your conditional up here to be whatever it needs to be to fall out. So what we would do is we would say counter is equal to false, and it works much better. So when using the break command, what you're going to do is set up a situation where you don't know why you fell out of the loop. You set up multiple branches out of that loop, and each one has its own set of variable values with it. Whereas if you always fall out the same way, coming with the counter, the situation will always be the same when it falls out of that loop, which is why it makes debugging so harder. So if you have a set of variables and you break, those variable values might be different if you then follow through the rest of the loop and then fall out. And so each one of those break commands puts up a different situation where you don't know what the code's going to, the variable situation, the state of the machine is when you fall out of that loop. So you should never really use the break command. You should always set the conditional equal to what you don't want it to do to fall out of the while loop. Same thing with a for loop or a complex if statement. If you do a complex if statement, there's no reason to use the break, because if you're in the if statement, you'll fall out of the if statement when you're done, and proper programming should not be a problem then. It should keep you from running any extraneous code. So the break command is somewhat thought of as a crutch, but it also makes the programming really difficult to debug later on. There are occasionally a reason to use it, so I can't say never use the break, but in reality you don't want to use the break. Some of you have been taught to use the break, but the break command is not good programming and makes complex programs much harder to debug later. Trying to find a problem with break commands in it is really, really difficult. There's really no reason to use it. You can always program around it. And so there's no program in this course where you would ever need to use the break, so don't use the break command in here.